Parashat Re'eh. There is a strange grammatical shift at the very beginning of this week's parsha. It is so subtle that most translations smooth it away without drawing our attention to it. Moses begins, Re'eh, see, and is setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The first word is singular. Moses does not say Re'u, see all of you. He says Re'eh, see, speaking as if he were addressing one person. But then immediately afterwards, the sentence changes. I am setting lifnechem, before you, a blessing and a curse. The verb begins in singular and ends in plural. Moses first speaks to an individual and then to a community. He begins with one person standing before him and ends with an entire nation standing together. So commentators notice the unusual change. Ibn Ezra explains simply, Moses is speaking to an individual. Rashbam and Zatu similarly understand the singular as deliberate. Moses is not merely addressing the nation as a crowd. He is looking at each Israelite in the eye. But the answer only raises a deeper question. If Moses wanted to emphasize the individual, why does he immediately switch to the plural? Why does the verse refuse to remain consistent? The answer is that the inconsistency is the message. The Torah's teaching, through grammar itself, one of the deepest ideas about the human responsibility. Every moral choice begins with the individual, but no moral choice ends there. The Torah refuses to choose between individual and the community. It insists on both. The first, Re'eh, see, belongs to you. The consequence, lifnechem, before all of you, belongs to all of us. The weight of the singular becomes clear in the writings of Rav Shimshon Feilish. For him, Re'eh is not simply a command to look physically. It is a call to recognize something through personal understanding and experience. Moses is telling Israel, do not simply inherit your beliefs from others. Do not live by borrowed convictions. See, understand, make the truth your own. A person cannot outsource his moral life. Someone else cannot believe for you. Someone else cannot choose for you. Someone else cannot stand before God in your place. This is the dignity and the responsibility of being an individual. The greatest danger in moral life is often not that people choose evil consciously. It is that they disappear into a crowd. They say everyone does this, everyone thinks this way, everyone behaves this way. No one feels responsible. The singular verb breaks through that escape. Re'eh, see, you, before we're members of a nation, a community, a society, we're individual souls standing before God. The Or HaChaim takes this even further. He reads Moses almost saying, look at me. Look at what one human being can become. Moses, who stood closer to God than any other human being, who was not formed from a different substance. He was a human person. And therefore, as Maimonides famously teaches, every person has the possibility of reaching the highest levels of human perfection. The singular is not a limitation. It is a statement of infinite possibility. One person matters. One choice matters, one life matters, but the verse does not allow the individual to remain alone. After telling each person to see, Moses immediately says, I have set before all of you. The blessing and the curse are not placed before isolated individuals, they're placed before a people. Here, the Kli Yakar sees a remarkable depth in the verse. He explained that the singular Re'eh speaks to the responsibility of each individual. Each person must choose. No one can make a decision on your behalf. But what is placed before that person is not only his own private destiny. It is placed before all of you. Lifnechem. Why? Because no action is ever truly private. The Kli Yakar connects this to the famous teaching in the Talmud. A person should always see the world equally balanced between merit and wrongdoing. And one deed can tip the entire world into merit. A single act can change the balance. A single person can influence the whole. This is why the Torah places this verse in the opening section describing the ceremony on Mount Gerizim and Mount Eval. There, all Israel stood together and accepted the covenant of mutual responsibility. They became arevim, guarantors for one another. The message is profound. You're responsible for your choices, but your choices are never truly yours. And modern society often teaches us the opposite. We imagine ourselves as separate individuals, each living inside their own private world. My decisions affect me. Your decisions affects you. The boundaries between us seem obvious. But modern research has shown that these boundaries are far less solid as we imagine. In the early 2000s, physician Nicholas Chiritakis and the political scientist James Fowler studied decades of data which had tracked thousands of people and their social relationships across generations. They discovered something surprising. Human behavior spreads through networks. Happiness spreads, loneliness spreads, smoking spreads, and even patterns of weight gain spread through social connections. And the effect does not stop with people closest to us. A person's behavior can influence several steps removed. Friends of friends of friends. People they will never meet. They call this the 3 degrees of influence. What science uncovered through statistical analysis, the Kliakar read through grammatical shift. The self is not an isolated island. Our choices travel, our actions enter the world. We affect people we know and people we will never know. The person standing beside you is shaped by your choices, and so is someone you may never meet. The Torah understood what modern individualism often forgets. We are individuals, but we're not individualistic. Judaism has always held these 2 truths together. It believes in the infinite value of the individual. The Mishnah teaches that whoever sustains one life, it is as if he sustained an entire world. One person is never insignificant, but Judaism refused the idea that individuals exist alone. Individualism says, my life belongs to me. Judaism says, your life belongs to you and to the world you help create. Judaism values the individual but does not endorse individualism. That is why the Torah begins with a singular and ends with a plural. The singular protects human dignity, and the plural protects human responsibility. Each held alone curdles. Without the plural, the singular becomes the self as its own whole world. Dignity without duty. Without singular, the plural becomes the crowd in which no single hand is ever the guilty one. Duty without a face. A society that keeps only the first word raises individuals who forget they are accountable. A society that keeps only the second raises a mass in which no one is. The Torah refuses both by refusing to finish the thought in one number. But there's one more detail worth noticing. Judaism is above all a religion of hearing. The central declaration of Jewish faith is not "See, O Israel," but "Shema Israel," hear, O Israel. Hearing is intimate. A voice reaches one person at a time. A command enters the heart of a single listener. Judaism is a faith of the ear before the eye, of the voice rather than the image, which makes Moses' choice of word here all the more striking. Not hear, but see. Why? Because sight can do one thing hearing cannot. A voice comes to us one at a time. A single glance takes the whole field at once. There are moments when personal conviction is not enough, and what we need is perspective. To lift our eyes from our own feet and see the entire landscape in which we stand, and everyone standing in it with us. The Sifri imagines Moses at a crossroads. Like a man pointing travels toward different paths. One begins smoothly and ends with thorns, and the other begins with thorns but ends in a blessing. The traveler sees only the road immediately before him, but the one standing above the crossroads sees where each road leads. That is Moses. At the end of the promised land, he asks Israel to see what they cannot yet see. Not only the path before them, but the consequence of every path and the fact that they walk in it together. Every generation stands at the same crossroads. Every person faces choices that feel private. What we say, what we value, what we tolerate, what we pursue. The temptation is always the same. To believe that those choices belong only to us. The Torah answers with a single grammatical movement. First, Re'eh, see, the choice is yours. No one chooses for you. No one can live your life for you. But then, Lifnechem, before all of you, because no one chooses alone. Every act creates a world. Every decision sends a message. Every person leaves a mark. That is what Moses wanted Israel to see before entering the land. That is what we are still being asked to see today. With every choice, we bring the world that is a little closer to the world that ought to be. Shabbat Shalom.